The stars stretched wide and endless, yet the galaxy had grown quiet. For centuries, the alien empires ruled without challenge. Their fleets roamed every system, their flags marked every world. To most, this was the only truth that existed, that no race could ever rise against them. But deep in the archives of the old council, in records so ancient that few dared to read them, there was a warning. It spoke of a race once feared by all, a race that fought with fire in their hearts and iron in their hands. The warning was simple. If you find their warship, do not wake it. If you hear their signal, do not answer. If you face their kind, do not fight. For they are human, generations past, and the warning became nothing more than a story. The younger rulers laughed at it. They called it myth, a bedtime tale told by frightened ancestors. To them, humanity was long gone, erased, forgotten, lost to the cold of space, until the silence broke. It began with a signal, weak, broken, but real, a pulse from the edge of the galaxy. At first, explorers thought it was static, the voice of dying stars. But when they listened closer, they heard rhythm, order, a pattern too precise to be natural. The signal repeated in cycles, carrying words in an old human tongue. Most could not understand, but the scholars who studied forgotten languages translated the fragments. Their voices trembled as they read, "Resolve. Awake, return." The council gathered in secrecy. Alien leaders sat in high towers, their faces pale with unease. Some urged caution, remembering the old warning. Others, filled with arrogance, dismissed the fear. "It is only ruins," one general said. "The humans are dust. Their warships are relics. We will claim it for ourselves." So fleets were dispatched. Massive cruisers, bright with the Empire's pride, raced to the edge of known space. Their engines burned trails across the void, their soldiers singing victory songs. But when they arrived, the songs turned into whispers. Before them floated something vast, a shape too large, too silent, too heavy for the void. It was not like the sleek vessels of the alien fleets. This ship was a mountain of steel, scarred by battles fought before their time. Its hull bore ancient marks, burned letters from a forgotten tongue. Its guns, silent now, stretched like towers across its frame. For a moment no one spoke. Even the proud commanders felt their hearts slow. "Is it alive?" one officer whispered. "Impossible," the commander answered, though his voice shook. "It is nothing but a shell." Yet the longer they looked, the more uneasy they became. The ship did not drift like wreckage. It hung in space with purpose, as if waiting. Its surface glowed faintly with blue veins of light, pulsing like the beat of a heart. Scouts were sent to board it. They drifted across the silent void, their small ships docking against the giant surface. They entered the hollow halls, and their voices echoed through comms. "It is massive," one said. Corridors stretch for miles. The walls hum as if something sleeps beneath them. Another whispered, "I feel like we are being watched." Hours passed, but the scouts did not return. Their signals faded one by one until only silence remained. The commander grew restless. He ordered more teams, more soldiers, but each time the same thing happened. The warships swallowed them and silence followed. Still, arrogance ruled. The Empire could not admit fear. They called for more fleets, larger armies. Engineers prepared to strip the ship, to tear its secrets apart, but the ship did not allow it. As the fleets surrounded the giant, the signal grew stronger. Once broken, now clear. It filled every comm channel, every scanner, every ship. The words struck deep into the hearts of all who heard, "We are not gone." Panic spread among the soldiers. Some tried to flee, but their ships froze, engines dying without reason. Lights flickered across the alien vessels, as if unseen hands touched their systems. The commanders shouted for order, but no one listened. Their soldiers trembled, whispering the name none had spoken for centuries. Humanity. From the shadows of the galaxy, the forgotten silence had ended. Something ancient, something powerful, something human was stirring again, and the galaxy trembled, though it did not yet know why. The discovery of the giant warship spread like fire through the Empire. Officials tried to keep it secret, but in the galaxy, secrets never stayed hidden for long. Traders whispered in the markets, Soldiers told stories in barracks. Even children on far colonies repeated the name of the forgotten race, humanity. At first, most thought it was only a broken relic, but those who had seen it with their own eyes, who had felt the hum of its walls and the weight of its silence, knew better. They spoke of corridors that stretched into darkness, of consoles that glowed when touched, of voices whispering through the air. The Empire tried to laugh at such tales. Generals mocked their soldiers. Leaders mocked the warnings. "It is only a husk," they said, "a broken monument to a dead race." But even as they spoke, their own fleets were shaking. The first sign came when an engineer team tried to strip a section of the warship. They cut into the metal with plasma tools, expecting it to fall away like dead steel. Instead, the hull healed itself, glowing with blue light. The plasma cutters burned out. Then the engineers screamed as their suits cracked with static. Their signals vanished, leaving only the sound of faint human voices whispering through the comms. The commander of that fleet ordered the ship destroyed. He fired his weapons at the giant, unleashing a storm of plasma and missiles. The void lit up with fire. For a moment, they thought the relic would shatter, but when the smoke cleared, the warship still floated, untouched. Its surface glowed brighter now, like it had absorbed the attack. Fear spread through the crews. Some begged to leave. Others whispered that the humans were inside, still alive, waiting. The commander silenced them with threats, but in his own heart, he too felt the unease. Back in the Empire's capital, the council gathered again. The chamber was filled with arguments. One elder, his voice shaking, read aloud from the old warning, "If you find their warship, do not wake it." But younger rulers laughed. "This is an opportunity," one said. "If we can control this ship, no power in the galaxy can stand against us." Another agreed, his eyes glowing with greed. "The humans built weapons far beyond ours. With their warship, we will not only rule the galaxy, we will own it." And so the order was given. Not to destroy, not to abandon, but to claim. More fleets arrived at the edge of space. Hundreds of ships surrounded the silent giant. Scientists, engineers, and soldiers prepared to breach deeper into its core. They carried tools, weapons, and machines of every kind, but the warship was not silent anymore. The closer they came, the louder the signal grew. What had once been broken fragments now became clear, sharp words. The transmission filled every ear, every mind. "We are awake." The soldiers froze. Some covered their ears, but the words did not stop. They echoed inside their heads, heavy and cold. The engineers dropped their tools, their hands shaking. Even the commanders felt their hearts tremble. Still, arrogance pushed them forward. They entered the warship's halls again, this time in larger numbers. Thousands marched through its corridors. They planted beacons, marked paths, and forced their way deeper into its heart. Inside, they found chambers filled with machines beyond their understanding. Weapons that pulsed with light, engines that hummed without fuel, maps of stars long forgotten. One soldier touched a panel, and suddenly the entire chamber came alive. Lights flared, screens lit up with human words. The sound of boots echoed through the corridors, though no one was there. The soldiers panicked, firing their weapons into shadows. Their blasts only struck walls, leaving no mark. The commander shouted for order, but then the doors sealed. The soldiers screamed as the panels glowed brighter, displaying one message again and again: leave. Half the soldiers never returned. The ones who did came back broken, their eyes empty, their voices whispering words in the human tongue they should not have known. The Empire tried to hide these failures, but the galaxy could feel the truth. The warship was not theirs to claim. It belonged to humanity, and yet even with fear rising, the leaders refused to stop. "They are gone," the Emperor said in his throne room. "They cannot return. Their machines are powerful, yes, but machines can be tamed. We are the Empire. We will tame them." But outside the walls of his palace, soldiers whispered in the dark. Engineers spoke of cursed technology. And in the farthest colonies, where the night sky was clearer, people swore they could see lights moving in the void, shadows of more ships waiting beyond. The galaxy trembled, not because it saw humanity, but because it felt them. Something was stirring, something lost, something powerful. The whispers had become a roar, and the warship was no longer sleeping. The galaxy had never known true silence. There were always voices, signals, fleets moving from one system to another. But when the giant human warship stirred, the silence became heavier than sound. Every alien who looked upon it felt the weight in their bones, as if the void itself was holding its breath. It began with light. At first, only a faint pulse ran across the hull. Blue veins glowed like rivers under steel skin. Then piece by piece the ship awoke. Towers that had been dark for centuries flickered with life. Engines that had not burned since ancient wars hummed again. Weapons, larger than entire alien frigates, unfolded like the arms of some waiting beast. The surrounding fleets panicked. Commanders screamed for order, but fear spread faster than discipline. Soldiers whispered prayers to their alien gods. Engineers begged their leaders to retreat. But arrogance still ruled the Empire's heart. "Fire upon it," shouted the commander of the main fleet, and they did. Hundreds of ships released their fury. Plasma lit the void. Missiles cut trails of fire across the stars. The human warship disappeared in the storm, swallowed by explosions so bright that entire planets saw them from afar. The aliens cheered for a moment, but then the light cleared. The warship still stood, unbroken, unmoved. The weapons fire had only awakened it further. Its hull glowed brighter now, runes of human language carved into the steel, shining with ghostly fire. The ship moved, slow but steady, its thrusters roaring like the breath of a giant, and then it fired. The first shot was not like any weapon the aliens had ever seen. It was not plasma, not missile, not rail. It was a beam that bent the void itself, collapsing 3 Empire cruisers into silence before their crews could even scream. The second shot tore through shields, armor, and pride alike, reducing an entire squadron into drifting wreckage. The panic became chaos. Fleets broke formation, ships colliding in their rush to flee. The commander shouted for them to hold, but his voice was lost under the sound of destruction. The warship did not chase them. It did not need to. Every strike was perfect, precise, merciless. It was as if it remembered every tactic, every weakness, every flaw of the alien fleets. It did not fight like a machine. It fought like something alive. Whispers spread through the survivors. They are back. It is not a relic. It is human. Across the galaxy, the news traveled faster than light. Traders carried the story. Refugees spread it in fear. Soldiers returned with empty eyes, their voices shaking, as they told of the warship that could not be destroyed. The council on the capital world raged. Some demanded more fleets, more firepower. Others urged surrender, but none dared speak that word aloud before the Emperor. The Emperor stood in his golden hall, his pride wrapped around him like armor. His voice thundered as he declared, "It is only one ship, one relic. It cannot defeat an empire." But even as he spoke, other reports arrived. It was not one ship. From the void, from hidden corners of forgotten space, more human vessels stirred. Smaller than the first, yet still terrifying. Frigates, destroyers, carriers, each bearing names in the human tongue. Defiance, courage, valiant, dawn. One by one, they awakened. The galaxy trembled. The old warning was no longer myth. It was prophecy, and it was unfolding before their eyes. News of the awakening spread across every star system like wildfire. It no longer mattered how tightly the Empire tried to control the truth. Fear traveled faster than orders, faster than ships, faster than light itself. Traders whispered it in ports, smugglers carried it between worlds, and soldiers muttered it in silence. Humanity's warship had returned. At first, some dismissed it. They said the reports were exaggerated, just propaganda from enemies of the Empire. But then came the survivors. Broken fleets limped back to their stations, ships scarred, crews trembling. The soldiers who survived spoke in shaking voices. They told of weapons that ripped apart cruisers in seconds, of a warship that seemed alive, that seemed to know where to strike before the battle even began. "It does not fight like us. one soldier whispered. "It fights like it remembers everything we have ever done. It fights like it hates us." The galaxy listened, and the galaxy trembled. Rebellions sparked in the far colonies. Races long enslaved by the Empire raised their heads. For centuries, they had been beaten into silence, but now they whispered of a savior. Not a gentle one, not a kind one, but one who could break their chains with fire. Humanity became a symbol, not a myth anymore, but a storm rising from the dark. The Empire's leaders sat in their council chambers, their faces pale and tired. They argued day and night. Some still demanded more fleets, convinced that with enough force, even the humans could be crushed. But others finally spoke the word no one had dared: surrender. The Emperor silenced that word with blood. Generals who whispered it fell at his feet. He still clung to arrogance, declaring, "We are the Empire. No ghost, no relic, no forgotten race can break us." But the galaxy knew better. More human ships appeared. Not just one dreadnought, but many. Not just eternal resolve, but others bearing names of fire and defiance. They emerged from the void like wolves long kept in cages, now free and hungry. Every system that once laughed at humanity now prayed not to be seen by them. In the mining colonies of the Outer Rim, workers stared at the night sky. They saw shadows moving between the stars, massive and silent. For weeks, no warships of the Empire came to collect tribute. When finally they did, the collectors found the colonies empty. The people had vanished, leaving only words carved into stone. "We wait for them." The Empire began to collapse from within. Fleets refused orders. Soldiers deserted. Worlds that once swore loyalty now turned against their masters. They no longer feared the Empire. They feared humanity more. On one world, the rebellion rose in the middle of the night. The people, armed with nothing but stolen tools, shouted the human name in the streets. The Empire soldiers fired upon them, but then the sky broke open. A human ship descended, casting its shadow across the city. It did not fire. It only hovered above, and the Empire soldiers dropped their weapons in terror. The people wept and cheered, for they knew they were no longer alone. The message spread. Humanity had not come to rule, but to remind. Remind the galaxy of what it had forgotten, that they could resist, that they could fight, that they could rise. The fear became universal. Even those who had never faced the humans began to see them in their dreams. Generals dreamed of blue lights burning their ships. Merchants dreamed of human voices whispering warnings. Children dreamed of steel giants marching through the stars. The galaxy had been ruled by the Empire's pride for too long. But now pride had turned to dust. For the first time in centuries, the rulers of the stars looked into the void and felt powerless. And still, the humans came closer. Every report, every whisper, every survivor spoke the same words. They are not conquerors. They are not ghosts. They are human. And the galaxy, in its fear, finally understood the truth of the old warning. Never wake humanity. But it was too late. Humanity was awake. The galaxy had lived in the shadow of the Empire for centuries. Its banners flew on every world. Its fleets ruled every star lane. Its arrogance silenced every voice. But now, silence belonged to someone else. It belonged to humanity. The first time the eternal resolve awakened, the galaxy trembled. When other human warships followed, the galaxy broke. Now, when entire fleets appeared together, stretching across the void in perfect formation, the galaxy finally understood. This was not the return of a single ship. This was the return of a race. From hidden stations, from dead systems, from ruins thought abandoned, human ships poured forth. Each bore scars of ancient wars, yet each burned with power no alien vessel could match. Their names carried weight like thunder: defiance, valiant, dawnfire, unbroken iron will. They were not just ships. They were symbols. Each one carried the will of a people who had refused to die. The Empire gathered its last strength. At the heart of the galaxy, above the capital world, the Emperor called every fleet, every ship, every weapon. Thousands of warships filled the sky, so many that they blotted out the stars. The Emperor's voice thundered across the channels. Today we end the myth. Today the humans fall forever. But his voice shook, and every soldier knew it. Then the humans came. The void tore open as their fleets emerged. Not hundreds, but thousands. Not scattered, but united. Their formation was perfect, every vessel moving with the precision of one mind. They advanced in silence, no songs, no speeches, only determination. The first clash was like nothing the galaxy had seen. The Empire unleashed everything, missiles, plasma, beams of destruction. The sky became fire. For a moment, the world below shook as if the heavens were ending. But when the smoke cleared, the human ships still stood. Shields flickered, hulls scarred, but none fell. Then humanity answered. Beams of energy bent the void, carving through the Empire's ships like blades through paper. Missiles streaked like comets, splitting battleships in half. Carriers unleashed swarms of drones that tore through defenses like storms. Entire formations of the Empire vanished in seconds. Fear spread across every Empire channel. Commanders shouted orders, but their crews were already abandoning ships. Some fled, others surrendered. Many simply froze, knowing resistance was useless. The Emperor watched from his throne tower, his golden halls trembling with every shockwave. He screamed at his generals, but none listened. He was alone, his empire collapsing around him. Above, the eternal resolve moved into position. Its massive shadow fell over the capital. Its cannons glowed with deadly light. For the first time, the Emperor felt what his enemies had felt for centuries, absolute fear. He shouted into the comms, his voice breaking. "You cannot rule the galaxy. You are only flesh. You cannot—" The signal cut off. A single strike from the human dreadnought silenced the throne tower forever. The golden palace crumbled into dust, its light swallowed by fire. The capital burned for 3 days. The Empire's fleets were gone, its armies broken, its leaders destroyed. The galaxy watched in stunned silence, and then the humans spoke, a single transmission, carried to every world, every ship, every corner of the galaxy. The voice was calm, steady, unshaken. "We do not return for conquest. We return because you forgot. You forgot the warning. You forgot who we are. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity does not vanish. Humanity remembers. And now so will you," the message ended. The ships did not stay to raise flags. They did not demand tribute. They simply moved on, leaving ruins and silence behind. In the days that followed, the galaxy changed. Worlds once enslaved by the Empire rose free. Some feared the humans as monsters, others worshipped them as saviors. But all agreed on one truth: humanity was back, and this time they were not to be mocked, not to be challenged, not to be forgotten. The galaxy trembled, and in that trembling, it finally understood the last lesson. Never challenge humanity, because humanity always returns.